Blacks in America. So there is a resurgence population-wise. We want to make sure that there's an economic resurgence as well. So the huge commitment for us is to be on the continent, to close the gap between Africans in the diaspora and Africans on the continent, and to know that the path to any group, any people, any race, any continent rising is rooted first in a spiritual foundation, but certainly it grows on what I call an economic power or economic resurgence. So we believe that it is ideal that the feet walks first, and because the feet ought to walk first, and South Africa represent the foot of the continent. We're in Africa, and we're particularly in Durban. We believe that Durban ought to truly be the Miami Beach of the continent. And so we want to be in Durban, working with the leadership there, ensuring that there's an economic surge, there's an economic rise. That's why we're bringing key leaders, we're bringing investors, we're bringing entrepreneurs, diverse entrepreneurs that's coming. We want to get this dialogue moving, but way beyond the dialogue, we want to see more collaboration, more partnerships between businesses in the Americas doing business with businesses in Durban and in South Africa. We want to see greater partnership between governments in the US, particularly Black leaders in government, forming alliances and twinning of cities, twinnings of neighborhoods and jurisdictions, so that we can really move this economic agenda forward for Blacks in Durban, Blacks in America, and certainly Blacks across South Africa and across the globe.
Thank you so much, Reverend. And the work that you're wanting to do when it hits the ground, it's really about the communities surrounding and living in Durban and their upliftment. And I want to pose that question really to the CEO of Uplift Communities and also the angel investor of the project, Achumboro Atanda. Achumboro, Reverend has spoken about what's important for the Americas and for Africa and what you're trying to achieve. What's your perspective on the investment required and how it should work?
I thank you so much, Reverend Dillon. Thank you, CNBC. Thank you, City Manager. I think, as the Reverend said, it's the season, right? There's always seasons in everything, especially seasons in investing, seasons in business. And I really believe it's the season for Africa. So we are, even before the event, the night before, I'm going to be meeting with 50 investors in New York City. And we're going to be talking specifically about investing in businesses in Africa. And there is a lot of interest from stateside, from New York, from the US, from Florida, from California, from all over, about investing from the diaspora, about getting connected to their roots, especially Black Americans. So we're really looking at everything. People are interested in agriculture. People are interested in infrastructure. People are interested in startups. There is just needs to be more conferences like reSURGEnce, and I'm so happy for what Reverend Dillon is doing, because now he's bringing a lot of us from the US to actually see the opportunities on the ground, and people who were open but confused a bit about how to get involved or who to connect with, which is so important in investing. Now they're going to feel more comfortable, which will allow more dollars and patient capital. That's what angel investors are. Sometimes VCs, not as much, but patient capital to flow into Africa. So entrepreneurs, cities, countries can rise and have enough time to develop their ideas, develop their businesses, provide more jobs for the people on the ground.
And again, it's jobs for the people on the ground. It's simple solutions, not complexity, that the reSURGEnce conference is aiming to achieve. The Reverend did speak to the young, growing population, especially those in eThekwini, really needing to find hope for themselves and for their future. And so we're going to have a couple of conversations with entrepreneurs as well. Melba, thank you so much for joining us as the founder of Melba's Restaurants. What excites you about the upcoming conference?
Well, thank you so much for having all of us on. I'm super excited about the access. I think that it's really, really important to have access to each other. You know, as African Americans and Africans, we have a shared history of struggle, but also a shared history of resilience. And I see nothing better than food to bring us to the table. But when you look at the importance of food, that is where all the deals are done. You know, you have some people that do deals on the golf course. We do deals at the dinner table. Everything that's important happens to us. Everything that's important that happens to us happens over a meal. So to be able to use food as a conduit to share culture, to share history, but also to share community, I think is ultimately important. You know, Reverend Dillon publishes this report called the Economic State of the Black World Report. And when you look at that, you will see that $10.7 trillion it comes from African Americans all around the world. Imagine if we shared and imagine if we supported each other. It would definitely be the beginning of the Black global empowerment, not just economic, but global empowerment. And that's what I'm hoping to achieve through reSURGEnce.
And let me tell you, Melba, I'm sitting here and my mouth waters when I think about how important and how amazing Durban food is. You'll see the lounges and the restaurants and just the love of homely, really comfort food. So we're going to see you in Durban and explore some of that, and of course get a taste of Melba's food as well at some point. But I do want to speak to the head chef that's joining us today. He's the head chef of the Mushroom Lounge, Cobra Bengu. But Bengu, your spotlight is on you to talk about the importance of this initiative on the back of just how important it is in your industry for it to be financed, to be funded, for it to thrive.
Good afternoon and good evening to others. Thank you for invite. So on behalf of Mushroom Lounge, we salute. So this is a great opportunity and for Africa to become big, also starting from eThekwini in Durban, KwaZulu-Natal. So us as Mushroom Lounge, we do all our best to keep the industry, as Melba said. If we can share those trillions, we can also getting bigger and bigger. So last year on September, I was with Melba. I was with Melba Wilson at Melba, so I use her kitchen, I use everything. I've learned so much from her. She is a good person. She also learned from me. So yeah, we went there to New York, we demonstrated, we cooked in the church there, everything was fine. We gave them our African flavors. So now the thing is, what's getting me very, very deeply thinking it, in 10 years' time, where would we be? So, because now all our cooks, all our chefs, I can see them, they're going to school day and night, but at the end of the day, there's no job for them. They also hoping, like next to me, there's a chef school here, about 100 students. And then I'm just getting worried every time that where these guys, they're going to work. So I was also thinking, no, if we, as Africa and South Africa, Durban also, we can contribute, share ideas. Like now I met Melba for so long now, we communicate on other sides. So we're sharing ideas, we get to know each other, we go there and share all the other recipes and stuff. So for me, it's a pleasure to have this meeting with you guys. So I respect also my elders there. So there's a city manager, Helen, how are you? So guys, this is our great opportunity for Africa to become big. That's what I can tell.
And speaking of the leadership at the forefront of all of this, Babumbele, you are running a number of initiatives to uplift the community of eThekwini as a whole through my participation in your travel and tourism conferences and many others. How do you see the ecosystem coming together to create opportunities? What else are you pulling together and making sure that all elements lead to the upliftment of eThekwini? Over to you, City Manager.
Thank you very much. eThekwini is the second biggest contributor to the GDP of the country. And that means that it has a hype of economic activity that is in the form of different sectors of the economy. Of course, we are seeking to continue to grow the economy of the city, of the province of KwaZulu-Natal, but also ensure that we continue to contribute in a meaningful fashion to the economy of the country. However, what is disturbing is that our people are still lagging behind in a big way. So we will not be able to achieve this without the support of the big capital players. And I must say, since the discussion in the last reSURGEnce, there has been a lot of interest that has been shown, not just because it is part of the policy that there must be equity, there must be empowerment of the previously disadvantaged, but we will have to rely on their infrastructure. We will have to rely on their capacity and skills to be able to access markets in areas that our people have never visited. And this is what reSURGEnce is about. The Mushroom Lounge, people went to the United States. They came back with a lot of skills in the space of a food industry. They learned a lot about the things that they need to do to improve their businesses. And indeed, they have improved. So this time around, we are going to be building up from the lessons of last time. One, to ensure that we spread the message far and wide. Durban is only the epicenter for this big vision that Reverend Dillon coined. And it is a vision that our forefathers, Martin Luther and Nelson Mandela, also spoke about. So we are taking the baton. We want to continue to run with it, but we have to rely on the infrastructure that is available that drives the economy. And at this point in time, we know artificial intelligence is the big thing, and we want to ensure that amongst other areas of focus over and above tourism, manufacturing, and all other kinds of economic sectors, but we want to rely on artificial intelligence and digitization to ensure that our people access opportunities. That is what we are planning to do.
Thank you, City Manager. And I think on the back of that, Reverend, you've done your research, you've done this for many years, with loads of experience. How does the program for the conference enable opportunities to be found, linkages to be made, and decisions for investments to be nurtured and to be planted at the conference? How have you designed it to be able to achieve those outcomes?
Our theme this year, Access, Connect, and Thrive, certainly speak to some of that. I'm excited, I'm proud. Chef Korba, meeting celebrity chef Melba Wilson, who is one of the top Black celebrity chefs in the United States of America, forging that partnership. That's how we connect, how we do business together. Before long, there'll be some mushroom restaurants in the United States. There'll be Melba's in Durban and in South Africa. That's, at the end of the day, what the connecting is all about. It's what the access that we're talking is all about. The reason why we're bringing people like Chumboro, who certainly has been on the investment track and growing in a big way, and other investors, not just investors, but certainly the think and the brain power, the brain thrust, if you will, the ones who are going to think through strategies and what does this look like, so that in another 3, 4, 5 years, there's 300-400 partnerships. I mean, that's at the end of the day what we're talking about. Laduma, the designer who Melba also invited to Harlem, and who also she's wearing one of his pieces now, it seems. How do we get more South African made products on the shelves in these United States of America? You know, Black people, me for sure, and I've been teaching and talking about, Black consumer power in America for 20 something years. We're just tired of every time we got to shop for car. It is from Japan. It's from Korea. It's from Germany. It's from London. It's from the United States of America. When do we buy a television set that is made in Africa? Or when do we buy a cell phone? When do we subscribe to a cell phone service like an Econet or one of these others? When can we go to a petrol station and we're buying gas that is coming from Africa, that is so rich with oil and petrol and other resources? So for us, a thicker slice of the economic pie is just that. It is time for there to be a change. And I think South Africa becomes truly ideal because Blacks in America have made so many gains. We want to transform those gains to South Africa. South Africa being 31, 32 years into what I call political freedom. We haven't quite gotten to economic freedom yet. Blacks in America, we're 160 something years. We haven't gotten to, frankly, the full level of our economic freedom yet. But understand this, that the Black buying power in America alone, just the Black buying power, is 3 times that of the total GDP for South Africa. And our population is smaller than the population of South Africa. So how do we translate this so that the numbers change? I'm bothered by the fact that in South Africa, Blacks have a per capita GDP of less than 60,000 rands compared to whites with a per capita GDP of 2.3 million. These are gaps that needs to be corrected.
And that is on the back of, if you look at the numbers, it's difficult to compute. But this is home. This is home for Americans who are coming to invest and to do work. So at Chumboro, you have a myriad of people coming: societal leaders, investors, business people. What is the talent that's coming? What are the kinds of people that are coming? What type of connections do they want to make? Maybe you can lean into the investor and the influencer community.
So investors are coming from all walks of life. Some people are career professionals. Some people run their own businesses. Some people have minerals, etc. I think when we look at Africa and diaspora, we can solve the capital problem alone if we just changed our mindset in terms of what we think, what we do with our money, whether it's on the spending side. But I think oftentimes we don't focus on remittances enough. Our population diaspora usually send remittances back home, but we're sending it to pay for food, consumable items people keep the light on. I think we need to change a sizable portion of that money to putting that in great, growing businesses. Whether you're putting that in Chef Bengu, whether you're putting that in other states, put that in great and allow them to grow. And then it may take a little bit, but in 2 to 5 years' time, we'll have more employment at home. Right. And therefore, then they don't need the money as much. We have thriving businesses. So I think one of the deep conversations we've been having and we need to continue to have is how we look at remittances. Secondly, I also think the way we pool capital, pool and utilize capital. Oftentimes, we have the capital necessary. It's disconnected from other capital, right? So are we putting the money together, whether we're doing it via our churches? The Black churches have enormous wealth within the U.S. And also across the continent. Are we pooling the capital together and them making decisions, right? That's what some of the best investors do here in the U.S. They put their money together, whether it's in a hedge fund or another fund, and then they're able to buy bigger assets at better rates. So one of the big things I'm really looking forward is the conversations we're going to have with other investors about how are we able to put together money and non-traditional investors to think about the money and access to money they have. How can we combine that in order to get better assets and grow the continent and grow South Africa and grow Durban?
And I think it's about legacy creation as well. You know, what you're talking about is investing in the things that can move from generation to generation versus where we find ourselves in early democracy, where we find ourselves in a consumption phase and very little to invest. But these partnerships could help to create the foundation for that. But you started off by saying that it's also a mindset. And Melba, I throw the question over through to you. It does concern me that there's a mindset shift that maybe we need to make even more within South Africa. What are your views on how we need to think and how are you perceiving the gap between where we need to be and where we are now?
Oh, I totally agree with you. It's definitely about the mindset. I think we have to be intentional about making sure that we go out of our way to collab with people, that we go out of our way to buy Black. When I went last year to reSURGEnce, you know, I sat down with Mushroom. It wasn't just a conference where we spoke. It was about being intentional, about making connections and forging relationships. You know, I made it a point to go to Laduma's store and to purchase items to bring back home. And if I'm on Good Morning America, I'm wearing a sweater by Laduma. You know, Chef Mushroom and I made an intentional decision that we were going to work together. So I think it's about the follow through, but I think it's also about forging those relationships and also supporting in terms of internships. Like Chef said, you know, we sat down and we taught each other. We looked at our commonalities amongst our food, and then we shared ideas of how we could support each other based on that. But I think training is a big issue, but also making sure that the deals are mutually beneficial. I think that's important. And I think we should also use social media to tell our stories. And I think that will definitely encourage others to do the same.
And it's so true, because I think that social media is critical to people seeing these conversations between you and Chef Bengu, and to see the collaboration and to change the narrative between what is possible. So Chef, how have you utilized it? How have you taken this opportunity? Has it amplified, Mushroom itself, Mushroom Lounge? Has it amplified opportunities and shown other people what is possible?
Yes. Because you see, the time we come back here, it was like New Year's Eve here at Mushroom. The whole of Durban and Umhlanga, people were happy that we came back from America. They saw all the videos. We met president there. Everything we cook, we demonstrate everything. So without saying much, as Chef Cobra from Mushroom, we wish to grow and bring Africa and America together through food. Let the food speak, and we left our traditional skills in America. So we also got skills from America. So bring the opportunities, Mr. City Manager, to the hospitality graduate. We always strive for the best for everything that we do.
Thank you, Chef. While you're striving for the best that we do, I definitely know that the City Manager, Musambele, again, you mentioned earlier on, we do have our challenges, and we speak about this all the time. The work that you are doing is so critical and important. Are you feeling that there's an improvement and a continuous growth in the backing required to help out from an infrastructure perspective, from trade, ease of trade, and the various aspects, be it our roads, our ports? How are we doing? Are we making progress in that part that holds back economic growth for South Africa as a whole?
Yeah, there is definitely a lot of improvement. Before I come to issues of infrastructure and so on, I just want to highlight one specific point. The mere fact that we have someone, a son of the soil by the name of Laduma, who has succeeded such that he has a chain of stores in the United States selling the label Amakos. really that is a significant improvement. And there are many ladumas in different sectors. What the reSURGEnce is seeking to do is to say, how have those African brothers and sisters managed to make it? How did they deal with all the barriers to entry, issues of capital, issues of gaining access to markets, such that they've made it so big? Amaxhosa is amongst the big clothing brands in the world now, but it's a gentleman that has come from South Africa. So that alone gives us hope as the reSURGEnce community that if we can multiply these experiences, we can be able to empower our people. But when it comes to infrastructure, we have seen a very significant improvement in the construction of the roads by Sanral in South Africa. Certainly, they've turned our city, Durban, into a construction site. The port of Durban has significantly improved efficiencies, issues of connectivity. We are also looking at reopening the second airport in Durban, which is the revitalization of the old airport that used to be there in the South Durban basin. From an infrastructure perspective, we are getting there. It's a question of reaping those investment benefits now. So through reSURGEnce, we are saying the investors can also come and invest in income generating infrastructure that will, in the long term, help the city, help the continent to grow. But over time, those benefits must be able to reach to as many of our people as possible.
It's so important to hear that from you, and thank you so much for leaning in on those critical elements of just the development of South Africa as a whole. Reverend, as the conversations go, and especially about South Africa and about Durban, one, food is important. Two, we know fashion is a highlight. Then we have music, and then we have the arts. There are other elements that are unseen that are of interest to investors. What else do you see that's possible to create deep investment, long-term investments that can keep us growing year in and year out, and not relying on necessarily the shorter projects or the more visible, attractive projects? Investment is complicated. Where do you see us needing to actually put an additional focus?
Yeah, and I would probably speak to two areas that I think are key, and one of those, and we do have quite a few representatives that's coming in that area, but one of those two areas would be property development. I think that's an important area. Real estate is in most cases a win-win. We've seen a massive rise as it relates to diverse real estate development programs and initiatives here in Black communities all across the United States of America. Some we have strong ownership and control in, but most we don't. The reality is, how do we create more? How do we create more affordable housing? How do we look at the end of the day, if we can get more Africans in America to be able to create a property relationship with Durban, then we know that Durban is growing economically, because at the end of the day, it's going to fuel tourism. It's going to fuel all kinds of economic opportunities. It's going to fuel more business collaboration and partnership. So at the end of the day, how do we get more folks to buy timeshares? How do we develop what I call multi-purpose properties along this awesome waterfront in Durban? We have one of the Black multi-millionaires that's coming, who is a property developer and a hotelier, and he owns many properties in the US and in the Caribbean. We want to look at, maybe building more hotels along the waterfront, and maybe timeshare some of them out to enough Americans who, at the end of the day, if I own something in Durban, I will either be in Durban myself every year, or I'm going to send some family members, friends to be in Durban every year. So I think that is one key area that speaks to property development, but it also certainly speaks to how we fuel tourism as well. The second, I think there needs to be more agro processing partnerships and collaboration. So at the end of the day, if the farmers are producing in Durban and in eThekwini and in KZN, how at the end of the day do we pair them with, let's say, retailers and processors on the U.S. side, so we're turning fruits into fruit juices, we're turning cashew into cashew milk, we're turning we're taking food and we're producing, because it's easier, believe it or not, to take agricultural products and create something, can it, bag it, box it, and ship it to America. We get it here faster and easier than just bringing raw products from the farm. So I'm hoping we could look at some agro processing plants. We could look at some manufacturing plants. We have someone that's coming who've created a manufacturing incubator in New York. How do we duplicate more of these? I remember my first time in South Korea, and they took us to an area called Taekwondo, and I ordered 3 suits that were delivered to me in 2 days in my hotel room. How do we create those kinds of stuff? 6 shirts, look like it's coming, right out of the store. How do we create these hubs so that as we create and fuel more tourism in Durban, folks can come down, they could, go to this manufacturing incubator hub, get whether they want jewelry made, shoes made, shirts made, suits made, clothes made, whatever the products are, and they could be delivered to them in 2-3 days before they're ready to board the plane and head back home. So these are the kind of stuff that I think is going to fuel the economy, not just in Durban, but certainly South Africa and across the continent.
Sure, Reverend. I nearly came with you there, wherever you were taking us, about the vision of what you see happening. And I really hope that at the conference, this comes through and that these opportunities find their place in South Africa. And I think we don't understand the size and the scale and the power of what this partnership could bring to Durban. And maybe, tomorrow, give us a view. What are the numbers looking like? What is the potential impact of the kind of investment that is possible with the people that are coming through to the conference?
All right, I'm going to take us on a quick history lesson back to the U.S. Around the founding fathers after Britain. What the U.S. did and how it became independent wouldn't have been possible without the partnership of France, right, and other support. And oftentimes we overlook the value of partnerships. And look how it went from being this fledgling nation to the #1 economic power in the world, right? So that's what happens on the highest level. Right now, I'm at Florida at a conference, and people are doing $300 million deals, $100 million deals. The smallest number I'm hearing, a guy wants to loan out $2 to $5 million. At the highest levels of business, government, etc., it's about partnership. It's about collaboration. And when we truly open ourselves up to that, that's how our businesses, our cities, our countries will grow. So finding the right partners, the ones with the right mindset, the same vision, and that's why it's so important, the people who are selling the vision, like Reverend Dylan. What is our vision for the city of Durban, right? What is our vision for South Africa? What is our vision for the continent? Do we have a strong vision that attracts people? Because partnership is also about keeping our resources, and that's issues we've had over the years in Africa, keeping resources. So are we able to draw our young people back to our cities, back to our countries, so that we don't have a brain drain, right? That people want to work there. And I think it's a very unique season with everything that's going on with AI, with how the job market is changing in the US and Europe, all around the world. I think it can be a really rare instance where we may be able to track the top talent that we've exported out of our country back into it, right? And for people to really work and help the business grow. Imagine what you can do what the Mushroom Lounge can do if they had one of the top operators in the world working and helping you run this. Imagine what you can, what more you can do, Miss Melba, if you had one of the best CFOs who knew exactly where to pull capital from and manage it. So I really believe in this vision of partnership, collaboration, and bringing the top people, the best people together, because that's going to increase the economics pie for everyone, and we'll get a thicker slice.
Achimura, there's so many conversations that we need to have and we can have around that. One is the readiness of the environment. One is the pipeline of bankable projects, the pipeline of potential partnerships. So we might be saying all of this, but there are great challenges that lie ahead and they require a lot of energy and sustained effort to get to a position of success. And Melba, you know, the idea that you are already cooked idea, a concept, a loved a product that you're offering into South Africa. How would you encourage other Americans who come into the country and they need to feel that they can plant their roots here, that they can work here? What is the spirit with which they need to come? I might not be able to get back to all my guests on this conversation. I am running out of time, but you can really help us with just the narrative that's required to enable people to come with the right mindset and make sure that they find this an investable and a stayable place.
Well, first of all, I want to speak to what you said about it being hard. So much of us have lives that have not been easy. You know, I'm born, bred, and buttered in a community that people used to call the ghetto, that I consider the Mecca of Black culture. So nothing's been easy. I'm in a white male-dominated industry, which is the food and beverage industry, which is the second largest employer in America, the food and beverage industry. So in terms of being hard, I think we're all kind of used to things being hard, but we have the spirit of perseverance. We have the spirit of resilience, and we also have the spirit of community. So I think that when people come to reSURGEnce, that you come with an open mind. That's number one. And number two, that you look to your left and you look to your right, in front and behind you, and you connect with people. One of my favorite words in the world, you can ask anybody that knows me, is relationships. That's what it's all about. It's about relationships, but also executing on those relationships. I often tell people, you know, if it doesn't happen, what have you lost? Nothing. You've lost a 5-minute conversation. But if it does happen, what have you gained? You've gained everything. And my life is a living legacy of such. You know, I started out as a cashier in this industry, learned how to cook. And, people told me I couldn't, wouldn't, and shouldn't. And now I have 5 restaurants. So it's never impossible. It's impossible. And I think that when we go into South Africa, we go hungry for information. We go with an open mind, ready to talk, but also able to listen. And we look at forging relationships and communities. We've been told we couldn't before. Harriet Tubman was told she couldn't, and she built an underground railroad.
And I think, thank you for that context. You know, we understand where we come from. We understand that it's hard, and you need to come with that spirit here because it needs to spill over into what we're doing. And I think we live in a time of hope. But Bengu, over to you. You know, what is the hope that you have for Durban, for your industry, for your communities, that this reSURGEnce conference can be the answer to?
As Melba said, food connects people. As we at Mushroom Lounge, we definitely bring nations and together by the good food, cooked and served on the board. That's what we call this table. So we also want to thank the eThekwini manager and the cabinet all for the support and the eThekwini as a province and the other provinces. Thank you so much, guys. We're looking upon to have a better future. Melba, love you.
Thank you so much, Chef. We're looking forward to you and your food in eThekwini. City Manager, some final words for you, and then hopefully I'll have enough time to go to Reverend Dylan as well for closing a closing message. City Manager.
I just want to say that there is no other platform, certainly that I know of, that is as good as reSURGEnce for the generation of ideas about the empowerment of Black people, for ensuring that there are economic functional linkages between successful businesses on the other side of the continent and our own businesses. This is not for Durban only, this is for the African continent. So I request all our colleagues in the African continent and the diaspora to come and be in Durban for the second leg of the reSURGEnce. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and it's so much easier to call you City Manager, but Babumbele, siyabonga kakhulu. Reverend Dennis Dillon, your message to the community that's attending the conference?
I just want to first just tell everybody, if you're in Durban, if you're in KZN, you need to make your way to the reSURGEnce conference. It's going to be really an exciting time, a time of exchange and networking. I want to salute, though, the eThekwini municipality leadership, especially the city manager, for taking the lead here and this initiative. It's key, it's critical, it's important. Melba Achumboro and certainly myself, we're looking forward to being at Mushroom, because we really want some really good food when we get to Durban next weekend. So blessings on everyone, and we look forward to seeing everyone at the ICC for the reSURGEnce conference from the 20th through the 23rd of September. Blessings on all, and I'm going to have fun on Heritage Day in South Africa next week, or the week after. I'm excited.
It's definitely, it's not if you're going to be there, it is you better be there. Thank you for saying the thank yous on my behalf as well. Mr. Musambele, City Manager for eThekwini Municipality, Reverend Dennis Dillon, the US Convener of reSURGEnce Conference, Cobra Bengu, thank you, Head Chef at Mushroom Lounge, Achumboro Atande, thank you so much, the CEO of Uplift Communities and Angel Investors, and Melba Wilson, entrepreneur and founder of Melba's Restaurants. From me, Zanele Morrison, and the rest of the CNBC team, it's been an amazing discussion. See you at the conference. For now, it's goodbye. Take care.